So the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, they fund PBS, NPR. They are set to close because of federal aid cuts. This is approved by the GOP-led House Representatives. They approved a $9 billion in cuts to public media and foreign aid. $1 billion of that was set to go to CPB for the next 2 years. This to me is very exciting. I think that PBS, NPR have been propaganda this whole time. Well, not whole time, but definitely the last few years for sure. Probably the whole time. And we're seeing other cuts. We're seeing a dying media right now, and I'm happy and glad to see it.
Yeah, no, same. This is all downstream from the Doge cuts that were going on.
Yeah.
So you said as a part of this, and seeing the corporate media that has been held up by my own taxpayer money, seeing it pulled out from under these people that seem to hate people like us, it's kind of nice to see. I'm not gonna lie, but I have a slight issue with it because the younger generations have kind of always known that corporate media was propaganda, like straight up just spoon-fed propaganda for the boomers.
They were born into it.
Right. So, you can't blame them.
Well, no, I'm saying like the younger generation was born into just
right.
like they were easy to see it versus the boomers. It's like it was a slow change.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of adopted and were like, oh yeah, this is the way life is. Where the younger generations, in my opinion, could just see it for what it is, and it's like, no, I think you're lying.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with the fact that like we would have access to newer technologies like YouTube. Years ago was this new thing, new and shiny object.
Twitter,
and so
now X.
So you'd go on there and you'd be reading and watching videos or whatever about whatever, and then you'd go and watch your choice of corporate media, whether it's NPR or MSNBC or CNN or Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
Like you pick, and it just didn't line up. It was like, this doesn't feel right. And I'm like a Ron Paul guy. Like back in 2008, I couldn't vote at the time, but like I just remember following him on YouTube and just watching all the debates and stuff. And I just loved Ron Paul. So it's really easy for someone like me to see like this clear separation of like corporate propaganda versus like just people talking honestly about things.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yes, it's all cool to see that these things are being defunded, but my problem is that this type of media has been dead for a long time. It's like hanging on by a thread for, once again, the boomers, but it's been dead. It's not a thing. And so I think after Trump's win, they were like, hey, like it's time to like, it's okay to like let go of these things because they're no longer investments. Like we're losing, it's not about money, but we're losing people. Like we're losing the culture. And they know this. And so what I don't like about it is now they're going to transition that money from assisting corporate media into assisting podcasts and individual contributors of content or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just don't, it's a scary time because we have to remain vigilant of people that come on who just happen to have money or who are pushing things that maybe they don't believe in. It's just, and it's hard to see like,
so I still see that as a good thing, though. Like, I understand the concern, but it's going to be, well, I think it's going to be easier. Like, as an example, I started this channel because I was frustrated with everything that was going on. Other people started channels. I think the reason the podcast, all of this podcasting grew is because of the fact that the news is dying. The old media way was dying. All these other people recognized that, and they're like, I got to start a channel. And then they started their channels, and they saw all this great growth. And to be honest, I think a lot of that growth is fake. That's kind of a different story. Whole dead internet theory. I think that's real. But effectively, like it's the innovation, and I honestly think that podcasts are also coming to an end. I think we've seen such a great increase in technological changes that it's probably time that this needs to shift and become something new. And I think it's going to be in person.
You think? Oh, wait.
I think we're going back to in person.
Well, that doesn't mean podcasts are dead, though, right?
So not completely, but when I say dead, though, I mean from like a national standpoint, which
like
is why I want to focus on
Like you'd
Utah.
have a room, like an audience or something? Or what do you mean by in person?
I mean, I'm going to get, 10, 30,000 followers. They're going to watch my shows. We're going to get together here in Utah. We're going to discuss policy. We're going to help to try to make change. I think every podcast is going to see a huge decrease. One, because of the internet, and two, because there's way too many NPCs that are just getting into like AI crap and just watching bullshit on
All the goy slop.
Yeah, AI slop all over. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, no. So okay, I think it's a good thing in the transition period.
Sure.
The problem is that they're just rooting themselves into it, and 10 years from now, they're going to be what they already were. Like the corporate media didn't start out the way that it is now, right?
Right, right.
Like it was. I mean, and maybe it did. Like I should probably do some more research on that. But like just the idea of free press, having your own newspaper, and then it became TV and whatever. Like they got their grip on it, and it was over time, and so the boomers didn't see it. And so that's why it's so easy to fool them via these avenues because like at first it was honest and it was authentic, and then over time it just switched. And so what I'm saying is like right now the podcasts are authentic, they are whatever, but over time I think we're going to start seeing a drift towards this grip that they have, and you've seen it where during Trump's entire presidency a lot of people were banned from Twitter, banned from YouTube, and then of course Elon bought Twitter,
right?
And now you see those people coming back, and it's like really cool to see that, but they were so easily pushed to the side where a lot of people just stopped following them. And so they could do the same thing again, where it's like, okay, we're going to open it really big again, which is what it feels like's happening, right? Elon buys Twitter, and then now it's like all these people, it's really broad now. We're getting a lot of different voices come through. And you got like Rumble, all these alternative platforms. So you have all these voices, and then over time, it's just like I think they can easily just turn off certain voices and just kind of direct people slowly towards listening to the approved voices.
So I agree, but that's why I still feel we're in a good place, though, is because I do think podcasts are also dying, and I don't think they're going to get that control. I think they're investing a little too late. They tried forcing it through media, and now they're going to try to move to this new area. But I do want to agree on one area with you. I want to do a video on this a little bit more, so maybe I won't get into it too much. But the UK has been pushing for requiring a license or some type of identification to get into the internet, specifically for protecting children. So it's for porn sites and all that. I think that's where it starts. I think it's going to be under the guise of for children. And it's going to end up just taking over, and just you have to have an ID to get on the internet. Yeah. I think that is ultimately where we're going. And I think, to your point, I think that's what's going to happen is they're going to limit who can see what because of your ID. It'll help create social credit scores. All of this is going to happen. There's a new app. Oh, I forgot what it's called. I'll have to find it. There's an app that companies can pay for now that allow you to rank your employees like an actual credit score. You get an actual point. You can have, and it looks just, they had the gauge and everything that looks just like a credit score.
Yeah.
But now it's a working score. So how good are you? Oh, they're 400. They're not actually that good. Oh, they're an 800. And that scares me. So I think you're right in the long term of what you're suggesting, but I don't think podcasts are actually going to get them there, if that makes sense.
I'm not even like necessarily saying it's going to be podcast. There's just going to be we're going in a new direction. And we are in a transitionary period.
Oh yes,
right
100%.
Now. And we don't know what that's going to look like in 10 years. So whether it's podcast or not, they can adjust. And especially now that they've got the money out of the corporations, right? Out of that, like, they're not funding that anymore. They got all this free flowing cash. Now they can like experiment and figure out what is going to be the best avenue. And then over time, just like root themselves in.
I'm really not worried. I'm really hopeful is what I meant to say, that USAID was funding them and they don't have free cash. I could be completely wrong, and there's still a lot of billionaires on the left that have a lot of money, so obviously money's there, and maybe USAID was their way of skirting it without having to pay their direct money.
No. Well, but this is what I'm saying. The money's still there in the sense that they can do whatever they want. Our government can just print whatever they want. So they have this win
well, I'm saying
where they
regardless
say,
of government.
Look at us. We got rid of this whole chunk of government. You said that we're no longer going to be spending. They can just, okay, now we're going to go fund this other thing that no American's going to pay attention to because exactly no American even knew what. Well, that's my point.
Yes.
That's my point.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. I agree.
That's my whole point is that, okay, great. We got this win over here.
I thought you were
that's what bugs me.
Right. I thought you were talking a little bit more about corporate media specifically, but you're just talking about propaganda from the government.
I am just talking about the government having its grips on culture, having its grips on like the American people.
That makes more sense.
And yeah, so
no, agreed. The big beautiful bill increased money where no one knows where that money's going.
That's exactly.
Trillions of dollars.
Their little tentacles are all they have this win. You said and we're getting rid of CBS and all these cool things. But now they've got the tentacles over here doing other things, and we
Yes.
don't know what they're doing.
Yes, agreed.
But that's the problem.
Agreed.
But that's the
Yes.
problem. So maybe it's not podcasts. Maybe podcasts do die. I don't know if I agree with that. We don't have to keep
Right,
discussing
right,
it.
yeah.
But like they're gonna figure it out. They've got the money to do it because they can print whatever they want. So anyway, I think it's a win in the short term, but it's really a loss because because most of the American people are going to see this as like, oh, we're winning. It's a cultural win, and in 10 years from now, we'll see the
It wasn't a win.
the effects. Yeah.
Well, so I actually do want to point that out. And I think you agree with me, do not believe that the right side of Congress or our Senate, specifically when I say Republicans in this context, I'm talking about in our federal government. I think they are just part of one big uniparty.
Yeah.
They're part of it. They
100%.
voted for it. They masquerade, and to be honest, I hate in my opinion, it's pretend retribution against Democrats. It should be
Pretend.
Yes, and the reason I say that though is because there's too many Americans who do actually want retribution against the Democrats for all the things they did.
Yeah.
No, we need accountability. I don't think it's about
Yeah.
retribution. What Americans truly actually want, when I talk to people and I ask them questions, I find out what they're really saying is, we want our federal government to be held accountable for the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not actually about retribution.
Can we
but
just-
we're being tricked into saying retribution.
Can we just sit on that phrase though? The pretend retribution.
Sure.
That's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. It's pretend. That's like.
Yes.
But that also, to the more broad picture, everything's performative.
Yes.
Everything in our
Yep.
government, and
Yes.
and I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I do feel like, good news wise, I do feel like on X, maybe it's just my feed, but I feel like people are kind of awake to the smoke and mirror show.
I definitely think it's your feed, in the sense that I think most people's feed on X have become this.
But once
now.
again, I'm not talking about NPCs. I'm talking about like the people
Yeah.
that care about politics, which is
that's
a
what
very
I'm
small
saying.
percentage of people.
Yes.
They're privy to this, like, everything's just
No, that's
just
what I'm
made
saying.
up.
Like to me, X is where news is actually happening. It's people that actually know, and
Yep.
there are people that don't know.
And
on
culture
there.
is behind X, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think it's kind of cool. The one thing being on X, you get to see what the culture is going to be in 1
Yes.
year.
Yes, agreed.
I think that's how
That's where I agree. So that when I say it's your feed, I really just say I think it's just X. You
Yeah.
have two sides that you're fighting for. I try to listen to as much of both sides or all sides that I can on X. I try to follow as many people as I can. I try to listen to the following and the For
Yeah.
You so that I get a spattering of information. But regardless, yes, like people on X, I do think also on both sides do know the truth. Some are lying about it, some aren't, some are grifting, but like X is where the news is actually happening. Now, I also think that they get caught up in their own bubble thinking that everyone thinks that way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, the rest of the world doesn't understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually paying attention.
Yeah.
Just the normies. But yeah, like I think, I don't know. I think that's where I'm kind of at with it.
Yeah. I feel like people see what is happening on the government because of Trump,
Yeah.
because of what happened to Trump, and because of COVID. Like, there's a lot of.
I think COVID woke more people up than
I
what
think-
happened to Trump.
I think you're right.
But what happened to Trump, I think, confirmed to those individuals, holy
See,
crap.
But see, this is also why I think it was by design. Because okay, you have the good party in power. The Democrats have been in power for so long, as far as like on the cultural side of things.
Yeah.
And I feel like the American people are like, oh, okay, we're tired of that. So the powers that be are like, okay, we need to kind of switch the power balance here.
Yeah.
So we're not going to give the power to them. We're going to slowly start transitioning power back to the Republicans. And that's why I think like even the gerrymandering that's going on these days is a part of like, hey, Republicans need to be in power, so let's gerrymander. Because before it was gerrymandered towards Democrats, and now we're just going to fix it. So our system has been fixed for a very long time, and it's like we're just going to switch the power to the Republicans because the Democrats kind of outlived their cultural currency, so to speak.
Yeah. I would argue from the federal level, it is by design. Like, that's my point. I think it's one big uniparty.
Yeah.
And I think that right now, the truth and justice for most people's perspective is coming from what is normally called the right, and they're seeing that as the Republican Party. But it's like, when I look at these people, there's only a few Republican congressmen that I'm actually like for, and I'm like, oh, thank you for what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And then there's maybe 2 or 3 senators. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree. Well, and I'm going to change gears just a little bit because I want to talk about this. I think this is it ties into it very much. So the USAID funding that was cut off has basically cost 6,200 journalists their jobs and 770 media outlets globally. So again, the journalists are also globally. So all of these are basically currently outside of the United States. But the part about this that also excites me is, well, I'll read this. It says, Reporters Without Borders warns of risks to independent media after USAID freezes. And I just want to call out the hypocrisy in that statement. How is it possible that they could be independent if they're being funded by a state? It's impossible. And so I think what we're going to see is around the world, we're going to start seeing that there was propaganda coming from the US through these journalists and these media outlets that were also pushing for this, whatever America at the time wanted when they were pushing this, right? Whatever the message was, this is what was getting fed. And I think there's going to be a power vacuum that we're going to start seeing globally.
Yeah, like the United States was funding foreign media to push American propaganda
Yes.
on the foreign whatever.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
it's twofold. I think one, it's to keep all the other countries in line because America's an empire and they want to keep them in line.
Yep.
And two, I think it's to trick the American people to thinking that the rest of the globe thinks the way we think.
Yep, American universalism,
Yeah.
which I think is the bane of our existence. I think it's gonna lead to the fall of America. Is American universalism.
Please explain what that is.
Yeah, so American universalism is the idea that everybody believes what America believes. Like every American or every person in the world believes that animals shouldn't be abused, and every person believes that like homosexuals should be able to get married and have families and have kids. Not everybody believes that. And I think you're right that America has been pushing this kind of propaganda and not even to convince the foreign entity and their people, but to convince Americans because a foreign person says like an American belief. Does that make sense?
Yes. The only reason I disagree is because I think they also want to flood people into America. And so they're tricking the outsiders to also think that they believe what we believe and say, come to America. I think it's kind of like propaganda on both sides.
Yeah, I think I might disagree with that, but we can get into that in a second. I just think that nonetheless, like Americans believe that foreign people, that people that are not Americans believe what Americans believe. So for example, I'm scrolling Twitter the other day and I come across this video of a fish that is on a dish and its body up to its head has been deep fried.
Okay.
But it's alive and it's like opening its mouth, like it's obviously in pain. And so it's like, I saw that and it like kind of hit me like, oh my gosh, and it was like some Asian account
Okay.
had posted this. And so it's like, as Americans, we believe like maybe you should kill the animal before you fry it.
Except for apparently lobster.
Yeah, well, we can get into that one too. Yeah.
We don't have to get into it.
But the like,
For the most part, I feel like there's a little bit more of a sanctity to life, even life that's non-human.
that's the point.
And I think that's also why we've seen an exaggeration among the left to be like, we're killing the world, and why they go to extremes with the climate, which I don't want to get into that, but I'm just saying, like, I think it stems from the fact that we do have a sanctity for life that a lot of other cultures do not have.
Yeah. And I think after seeing that image, it just confirmed to me like what I already know, that people don't believe the same things that I believe. And everybody kind of says like, oh yeah, that's obvious. But the way you live your life is as if as soon as you start talking about like immigration, it's like, no, immigration is always a good. It's always, but it's like, who's coming? Is it a person that you vehemently disagree with? And at the end of the day, it just is, what is your heritage? What is
your legacy?
What are we passing on to the next generation? And if the next generation, the phrase I keep hearing is like, if in 10 years the Constitution is still intact, but like all the Americans that are alive right now are dead and we're replaced by some other group, are we still America?
No. America is the culture. It's not.
And at the end of the
laws.
day, the Constitution, and I agree with you, at the end of the day, the Constitution is just a description of what the ideals that we want, right?
It's a system to uphold the values that
Right.
we hold.
Exactly. And so if the people that are here in 10 years don't no longer hold those values, then the Constitution, it doesn't matter. And also the Constitution can change, right? So like the Second Amendment is only valuable right now, but in 10 years, if it's no longer, like the Constitution is still intact and we went through the constitutional process to remove the Second Amendment and all the Bill of Rights, Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights.
Yeah. Then like, is it still the Constitution as we think of it? Is it still America? And it's not.
No.
And so that's the point, is like making Americans believe that foreign people believe the same way as us is just not true.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and it's why we see different it's why different governments exist, and to be honest, it's why a lot of countries have been turning from constitutionalism. A lot of countries, back when America was going around after World War II, we were kind of pushing it on people, and a lot of people were willingly accepting it because America was doing awesome. But when people don't share the values of that Constitution, you see it fail. There's that country in Africa, they basically copied our Constitution word for word. Like literally, they took our Constitution, copied it, but they didn't have the same values, and it's failing. I got to look up what that country was.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Constitution, who was it that said it? Was it Thomas Jefferson? That it can only be upheld by a morally Christian nation or people or something?
Yeah, I think it was Ben Franklin.
Okay, maybe it was Ben Franklin. I mean, that is true. That's
Maybe.
the whole
I don't
point.
know.
I don't know either. The governments in which we live, and part of that is because you're born there, you're going to grow up with the values of the people around you.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's a thing that happens. As you grow up, within that government was either created because of your beliefs or because of someone else's beliefs that were forced upon others.
Yeah.
And so it has to match the values of that belief system. And so, yeah, if you start replacing individuals in America, or if you got rid of everyone in America that has a value system with individuals that have a different value system, the government, I mean, we've already seen it today. There's so many laws that aren't upheld. In Utah, I remember there was like a law that you can't walk backwards down Salt Lake City with like a violin and a paper bag or something weird like that. Or you can't leave your pie on the windowsill because animals will come into the yard, especially on a Sunday, because people went to church on Sunday and then animals would come and ravage people's homes. So like there's laws that we no longer enforce. Some of them are because, again, we've moved on with technology. They don't make sense anymore. And some of them are because culturally we have changed.
Yeah.
And if we change too much, the Constitution will no longer hold validity.
Yeah. And what is, once again, what is the heritage? What is Americanism? And I think over the past 100 years, I think if you went back 100 years, Americanism is a completely different story. For example, with the Federal Reserve, the Americans understood financials. They understood like a financial system, and they disagreed with having a central bank. And we went 100 years plus without a central bank. And then 1913 rolls around and we get this Federal Reserve. And so now people don't know anything about the financial system by design, so that you can't fight against it. Because like, oh, well, how does it work? How does our financial system work? Okay, like you can print, or like they set the rates every 6 weeks, and then that defines like mortgage rates or whatever. But like, nobody understands how it works, and they're not even, and that's by design. So that to me is like a way in which the legacy of America is no longer the same as it was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been stolen from us, because what that leads to is this insane debt that we have, where inflation goes through the roof as a result of this printing. The government can do what they want. They can fund wars, all of these things that American people do not agree with. And then they can, of course, manufacture consent via the media, which hopefully is kind of going away with this you said stuff. But once again, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years. Anyway.
I think we're going to be far more fractured in 10 years.
Which is a good thing, I think.
I think it is a good thing, except for the level of technology. So I think it's going back to the way the 1800s worked, but now we have an overarching technological advantage from the government side now.
Yeah.
Because if they can control what's going on, I actually think the fracture will be worse for us.
Well, I think it'll be harder for the government to manufacture consent, for example. And so smaller groups will have more power, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that just like, the Sons of Liberty at the founding of our country. They were a small group of guys that just met together. They had printing presses, and they pushed their own propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And they eventually led to, America as we see it today. So I do believe smaller groups of people having power, as long as it's not gate kept,
Mm-hmm.
is a good thing. So anyway.
Well, I was thinking about this because you talked about the Federal Reserve, and a lot of people think that it kind of came like all of a sudden. A lot of normies I've talked to think it was all of a sudden, but it wasn't all of a sudden. The government was trying to do this for a long time. So this is kind of a shortened summary from Gemini, because I know it existed, but I didn't have it all pulled up. So in 1861, Abraham Lincoln signed the Revenue Act of 1861, which basically put a 3% flat tax on annual income. People hated it. They disliked it. They stopped it. So then they signed it again in 1862 by President Lincoln.
Wait, 1 year later?
Yep. So 1 year later, they did it again to increase they increased the level 2. So how much we're going to take from you. Then they did the income tax was repealed finally 10 years later in 1872. After the Civil War, people were like, hey, this isn't even constitutional, get rid of it. So then they tried again in 1894, the Wilson Tariff Act. This act reintroduced an income tax, which was challenged in court, and it lost. Then in 1895, Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Co., the Supreme Court declared the income tax is unconstitutional. And then they changed the Constitution
to make it constitutional.
And then they created the 16th Amendment, which ratified it and made it permanent. So it's funny because there are so many people that were so mad that it's like, you can't tax my income. And now today's everyone just expects it. It's just like, yeah, my income gets taxed. Same thing with social security number. People were like, there's no way you're going to give me a number that the government can identify me with. And now everyone grew up with it, and they're like, well, you got to have a social security number. Like, how would you live?
Yeah, well,
so it's by slow and it's by degrees is my point, and it's overcoming America, and it's all of this. My point in saying this is your perspective, I think, is the correct perspective, but I think it's also been happening for a long time, and they've been doing it slowly, and we're not paying it. Like, normies aren't actually paying attention because you just grow up expecting that this is now the norm.
Yeah.
Hence normie.
I think, okay, this kind of leads me down a specific path. I think the main problem is, so you're proving a point, which is that over hundreds of years, people have been trying to implement things that kind of ruin the American experiment, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I mean, I think I have pretty good reason to believe that. So income tax, for example, is one of the things that is not American. Obviously, I mean, it was voted on as being unconstitutional until they forced it on the American people.
Yeah, what is that? 150 years later, they finally got it enacted.
Yeah. So like, there's this long period of time. So this is the problem. Americans don't have organizations that build legacies. We don't have like a group of people who are constantly sharing American values. And I mean like 1800, like 1700 American values. Like, we all kind of just exist, and it goes back to like Orwell. Is it Orwell or the Ever Present? We just exist in this never-ending present period of time where there's no past, no future. We just constantly get this new news cycle, 24-hour news cycle, and nowadays it's like a freaking 15-minute news cycle.
Mm-hmm. It's a 15-minute it's a 5-minute news cycle, I'd say, for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's even worse. It is 24-hour news cycle, but with 5-minute news cycle. Like,
right, so
no one knows what's going on.
It's just this never-ending waterfall of changes that you just can never get a grasp on by design. And what that inevitably ends up doing is it confuses the people who don't pay attention, and then they make a slight change. They just make a slight change, like, oh, we're only going to do the income tax 1% for the duration of World War I. And then once that's done, then we'll just remove it. And people are like, okay, that sounds reasonable. You can't be reasonable. Nope. You cannot be reasonable with any government power, because always what happens is what we have now, which is this insane income tax, which is just tons of American money. And then they become levers of control, where you have accepted this lever of control into your life, or Americans in the past did, and now it's ubiquitous. And now they can just move it up and down and control your life. And it's disgusting. It's un-American, and we're just used to it. We're just used to this un-American. But it's so the whole point of saying that is it's because Americans don't have an organization of a legacy. Because when I die, where does that go? Well, if my kid's going to public school, my legacy's gone. Whatever I believed is going to be diluted. Maybe they'll believe it, or maybe they change the wording just enough to where, like, when I talk to my kid, they understand it differently than the way I'm describing it, which is a failure on my part. But, like, how am I supposed to know? There's so many variables in this that it's like, how do we maintain the legacy? How do we maintain pushing what we believe?
I'm going to take that as a quick plug to just say, homeschool your children. Don't rely on the public system. It's a government learning institution. Homeschool your children. I homeschool my children. Like, I'm very frustrated with where we are at today, and I think it's manufactured, and I think it's all a lie. I think the vast majority of Americans, even regular Democrats that just aren't paying attention, don't, like, because I'll hear regular Democrats and regular just walking around Republicans, they'll say the exact same thing. They might differ slightly. Like, I miss the days when it used to be, we're going to argue on how we're going to get a thing done. Now it's, no, we're on complete opposition. The best way I like to explain it is, the right will make fun of the left and be like, oh, your wife sleeps around with other dudes. And they're like, yeah, we have an open relationship. It's cool. Like, you're not, what's the word?
Attacking me?
Yeah, you're not attacking me. And then the left will go to the right and be like, oh, you're still a virgin. And they're like, yeah, I'm waiting for marriage. Like, it's funny to me that we're so bifurcated at this point that when we argue at each other, they're arguing past each other's actual beliefs because they don't actually understand each other's beliefs. But I think regular Americans actually do still hold the original American values for the most part. Again, not all of them. The First Amendment was applied differently in the past. You used to not be able to say a lot of profanities and obscenities. They counted that as not First Amendment protected speech. That's been changed. I think it's for the better. The Second Amendment has actually, like, I think now we've been the most free with the Second Amendment than we ever have in the history of America, in my opinion. More things are opening up. Trump's working on helping to get rid of the ATF, which I think will free up even more guns. That'll allow for more opportunities. So I agree that for the most part, we've always held American values. And from my perspective, it's now prove it. With the whole, like, because that's what they were saying with the slaves back in the day, right? It was like, well, you said all men are free, created equal. I don't remember who said this, but he was like, well, prove it. Prove that you believe all men are equal. Because originally they didn't, right? The blacks weren't equal or whatever. And I think that's kind of where America always has been. I think that is our value, is let's prove what we actually wrote down on paper, which is in the Constitution and it's in our Bill of Rights. And I think those matter, and I think we need to uphold those values.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to turn it just a little bit. I wanted to talk about AI slop just for a brief minute. We don't have to go deep into it. But is AI slop breaking the internet? So let me get rid of this giant banner. So low quality, inauthentic, or inaccurate content is taking over social media and distorting search engine results. This is why I don't think podcasts are going to last. And I'm not saying podcasts in totality. I'm saying, like, from a national perspective, the notoriety, couldn't say that word. That's going to drop. People used to get millions of views. Again, I think half of those were probably fake, but I also think that with all this AI slop that's coming, I think it's going to drown out the actual authentic voices. Normies aren't going to be listening to it, and you're going to have a small group. Well, you're going to have a large group of podcasters that have a small group of listeners.
Yeah. And
hopefully it's enough for them to make a living and that they can continue, because they're going to be the ones actually getting the news and getting what's important. Because that's another thing, like, news, the media is dying, but there's one of the big problems with that is it means investigative journalism is dying. It is getting harder and harder to actually find out what is going on, unless we get more and more citizen journalists, people going on X and actually saying things that they're finding. We need more people doing this, because if these big media corporations do disappear, it means we're going to lose a lot of investigative journalists. A lot of these people join these bad corporations, and I think they do a good job, because I think some of them actually are journalists trying to find information, and then the corporation twists it to become something else, but at least I had something to go off of. we're losing that. That is going away.
I mean, I think I disagree with I think investigative journalism has been dead for a long time.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's going to be dead now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, I think any semblance of investigative journalism that exists is already on X and has been for a long time. So,
well, that's my point though. Like it is on X right now. I'm saying I think that's also going to be going away. I think all like investigative journalism, unless more citizens step up, because the biggest problem is, let's say that I'm an investigative journalist and I post it on X.
mm-hmm.
Everyone else is going to take my thing. They're going to be like, well, this is really cool. They're going to post it to their larger audiences, and new investigative journalists aren't going to be able to get into the market, or at least I don't currently see a way.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get creative. They'll figure it out, I believe, because Americans are creative. So I'm not that worried about it, but I am slightly worried about it because we got to find a way to overcome it.
I'm just worried about AI in general. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to the market, the job market, just the economy overall.
From a somewhat hopeful perspective, just for the sake of sharing it, I'm not sure I agree with it. There is a possibility that AI gets rid of, we'll say, low-level administrative jobs. So the best example would be individuals that work on like HVAC units, plumbers, woodworkers. They're going to be able to hire AI to take care of the background. That does mean that these individuals are going to lose jobs, but I think that it also means these companies will probably be able to focus more money on these laborers. So blue collar jobs, I think, are going to be able to see a possible increase from AI coming in, because AI is not going to be able to do this work unless robots have some explosive new ability in the next couple of years.
They already have goggles or glasses that blue collar workers can wear to kind of watch what they do with their hands.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
AI can interpret it and then kind of inform future AI like robots to do the job.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know how far away that is.
I don't know how far away it is either, but like I didn't think AI was going to be around in my lifetime, and here we are with, I mean, insanely good AI. Like, it blows my mind what it can do. And I think at this point I'm tired of even hearing that, because like when GPT-5 comes out and people go on their social media like TikTok and they're like, this is what's new with ChatGPT-5. It's like we know. We already know it's good. So it's just, I don't know.
I'm just curious though, do you see a good way around generative AI overcoming itself? And what I mean by that is more and more people are of course using AI, which means AI is now feeding itself it's getting into a feedback loop of itself.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know enough. Do you have any experience or knowledge on how AI might be able to overcome that from what you've been reading?
Well, I mean, it right now goes over public data in the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as people use AI, you're literally just giving the data to the company now.
Yeah.
So a company, and this is kind of the scary part, is that right now, because the data is public, you can have an LLM, you can create as many LLMs as you want, different companies can. But as we start to, what's the word? You start to like collectivize on a specific, like how Google became the search engine.
Mm-hmm.
Like before you had all these different companies that were kind of like doing it.
Yeah, you had like Yahoo and
Ask Jeeves.
Oh yeah, Ask Jeeves. I totally forgot about that one.
And so like Google became ubiquitous. Everybody knows
it's now
Google,
a verb.
and it became a verb. Everybody started using it. Blah blah blah. And as we move in that direction with AI, the public data is no longer going to be public because it's going to be on the AI itself, and so they'll be able to, whatever ends up being. Right now, it seems to be GPT. Seems to be like the
open source AI right now. Open something. What's it called?
It's not open source. OpenAI.
Or OpenAI. That's what I meant to say.
Not
Sorry.
open source anymore.
Yeah, not source. Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be, who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years, but whoever ends up becoming the one is going to have all of the data, and then LLMs will no longer be able to, I mean, I'm sure people will still post to the internet. So maybe, I mean, it's not going to.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like AI, people are now going to AI, posting that to the internet as their content, as their creative thought process, which it's not because it's coming from AI. Yeah, they prompted it, and I'm sure they tweaked it and they made changes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like AI is going to start feeding itself. And to me, for a generative AI, which is based on statistical generation, is going to end up just like generating the same slop. Like we're going to see more AI slop. It's just going to get worse. And like, my favorite example is Grok. I think Grok's losing because it's listening to X posters, and it's just giving a huge list of just nothingness. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just too verbose. That's the word I was looking for. It's way too verbose. It never shuts up. You ask one simple question, you want to have a conversation, and it ends. ChatGPT is doing better at that, I think.
Yeah.
When I use it, at least. But I just worry that we're going to see them all end up becoming like Grok unless there's a way to overcome it. Sounds like maybe you haven't looked into that. I haven't.
Well, over time, I think it'll get worse.
Okay.
But maybe it won't. I mean, because they'll be able to train it on their data that they have.
Yeah, that's fair. They can always rely on the past data too if they
like
need.
As long as they just keep a balance of human input, a good ratio between human input and the AI output, then like I think they'll be fine. And
yeah.
But
well, real quick, I meant to pull this article up. So sorry, because if I scroll down, this is really funny. So someone posted this. I don't know who, but Birmingham New Year Fireworks 2025 Century Square. So this is an AI-generated social media post advertised a non-existent New Year fireworks display in Birmingham. I don't know why it says 2025 because we're not there yet. Or I guess that would be January 1st, 2025. So that came out. Thousands of people arrived at Birmingham's Century Square expecting a firework display, which never happened. Another example. Instances becoming more common. So in Dublin, last Halloween, thousands flooded the streets to attend a parade fabricated by a Pakistan-hosted website that creates AI-generated news. Last February, Willy's Chocolate Experience, an immersive Willy Wonka-inspired event in Glasgow, became infamous after it didn't deliver on AI-generated adverts. So people are showing up to events in the thousands,
interesting,
and nothing's happening.
That's scary.
So part of the reason I want to bring this up is AI is like, people will see an AI ad and the lips kind of don't match, and you'll see like an old lady, but it's like a young woman's voice. And so you're like, okay, this is an obvious AI ad.
Yeah.
Part of the problem, I actually think that's on purpose. And the reason I think it's on purpose is I think they're trying to convince individuals AI is not good yet.
Yeah.
So they can release really good AI and people won't recognize it because they're used to being like, oh, I know what to look for. I'm smart enough to not be tricked by AI.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, you're not. You're just being tricked by the bad stuff, which I think is being fabricated on purpose.
Well, I made a prediction before AI even was released, at least as we know it now. Mm-hmm. And my prediction was that TikTok and social media would slowly just become AI-like content.
Oh, okay.
That we would just be watching AI content. And for all we know, we already are.
Oh, I think we are.
And I, like, seriously, maybe Trump doesn't even exist. I've never met him. I've never seen him in real life. Maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe it's all AI videos.
I mean, you'd have to go back like 80 years, though. I don't think 80 years ago.
I know. I'm just making a point that, like, we don't know who is real, what's real. Like,
well, there have been official YouTube channels that have been found out to be AI, and some people have even announced, hey, by the way, this is fully AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is happening.
Well, what's scary is that so the early thousands, I think it was 4chan, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an anonymous posters. They like organized full-on events, like a lot of hacking or whatever. I can't remember all the details, but basically, that's like how the internet. That's the direction it went, and then it was corrected because then the FBI came in and like arrested some people and blah blah blah, and like it kind of corrected itself, and now we got like, before it was like the Wild West in the internet where like you would just go to whatever website, and now it's like you have an app and you go to that app to do your thing, whatever. It's like if you want to go to Twitter, it's on the internet, but it's like you're not going on the internet and then just searching the internet anymore.
Well, even if you go to Google, start page, DuckDuckGo, they're curating what you're seeing at the top of the list.
Right.
Regardless of the sponsored. People think, well, I'm not going to click on the sponsored link, which fair because that pays them money. But even the ones below the sponsored link are still paying for that spot and still being curated to be in that spot by these search engines.
Yeah. Well, and so I think the period of time Like in the early thousands, it was like a little bit longer than what we're going to see now, where we're in the wild west of AI, even though AI is way more controlled still. So whatever that means.
No,
but,
I agree.
But we're in like I said, man, we're in a transitionary period, not just politically, but culturally, technologically. Like we are in a very interesting time, and it could go up or down. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm hoping and I'm pushing for the up. I'm trying to. I really want to. I really hope that Americanism, the values of America, not just exist, but that we can get back to what it was in an early period of time in America.
Well, I want to say the same about the states. I also think the states need to get back to their belief system. I think states need to redeclare their sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
What's the
Sovereign.
word? Sovereignty. No, what?
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty. Hey, I never said I could speak good. I think states need to assert that.
I do too.
And I do think that the federal government has a place. I think that they have a place in military, especially because, let's be honest, the U.S. is the police of the world. It is a good thing when it comes to trade, because we police the oceans and we say, don't mess with us because we're going to allow all countries to trade. And I do think that is a benefit to the world. And I'd rather us do it than any other country. So the military and the trade, and then also just dealing with foreign affairs, I think it's good. I'm okay with that. Everything else that they do, though, is like, why do you do anything else? You shouldn't have to do anything else. Leave it to the state. Let the states figure it out.
Yeah.
I will say part of the problem, because one of the things I was talking to, I was chatting into ChatGPT. Just trying to do some research. I was trying to do some Googling.
Can we just talk about how ChatGPT is the worst name ever?
Yes.
Because at least Google, you could be like, I'm going to go Google that.
Yes.
Now you have to be like, I'm ChatGPTing it.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest name.
I know. I've been trying to think of a word. Like, I'm AI posting.
I would almost rather use something like Grok, just so I can say, I'm going to go Grok that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Then I'm going to ChatGPT. I hate it.
Honestly, I think at some point it might just become chat.
I'm at the point.
I'm going to have a chat.
Yeah. I've been calling it just AI now. I'm like, yeah.
Fair.
So
Maybe
I
should do that.
was talking to AI.
I haven't come up with the word yet, but I'll go with that. So I was talking to AI.
Yeah.
I was doing some research, looking up some stuff, and part of it was West Virginia. They were the first state to like ban like yellow dye 30 or 12 or whatever the number is. I don't remember. It's the coal derivative. And I was like, man, Utah needs to do that too. And I was also thinking of just like with how the UK is requiring IDs. Utah's doing the same thing. They require IDs for pornography sites and everything. And so I was kind of doing research into that specifically. And why don't some states go further? And part of the problem is, according to like the supremacy of the U.S. Constitution, there's like this court precedence that states can't do something that would force other states to have to follow. And so part of the reason why like it wouldn't hold up. So West Virginia can say you can't sell food here that doesn't have this food dye, but it also means some companies might be like, well, there's 49 other states, screw you, I don't care.
Yeah.
But if enough states got on board, then it would matter. So that's part of the reason why we do need the U.S. government to force some things. So like when it comes to IDs, I would like to, I don't want IDs on the internet. I don't mind having IDs for things like pornography because in my opinion, I think the internet should be treated as best as it can to actual real life. I can't just walk in and buy alcohol without an ID. I can't walk into a strip club without an ID. I think the same should be for the internet, but they need to do it in a way better way than they're doing it. Like maybe having it on, like in the browser or something. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to get into that. But my point was part of the problem that states do have, to get back to what I was really originally talking about, is states can only assert so much authority until it starts affecting other states. And that's when the U.S. will come in and say, you're not allowed to do that. And so we do lose some of our sovereignty. I'm going to get it. We do lose some of that because of how it works. But if I'm honest, I like it that way.
Convention of States, dude.
Well, I'd love a convention of states.
I would love to see it.
Agreed.
In my life.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well, go ahead and leave a comment if you disagree with Ty. If you agree with me, you can find me on X, Reese J. Crockett. Do you have a tag?
Yeah, at Crockett Ty, 3 T's.
3 T's. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and we'll hear from you again. Thanks.